But let me introduce Enifome. Tell me about pain, purpose, and passion.
Hmm. Pain, purpose, and passion. Wow. That's a lovely trio. You see, I went through pain. I went through so much pain that I got to understand that pain can either make you or break you. Pain can either be the ticket to purpose or the reason for your downfall. You can either use pain or pain uses you.
Mm,
But when you use pain, you become better. When pain uses you, you become bitter. That's why we have a lot of people just, speaking out of their pain. You have people that went through pain and they just changed. And so pain is painful. And as our faces are different, so is our pain different. And
mm,
interestingly, pain has no gender, pain has no class, pain does not select and say, oh, I'm going to look at who I'm going to come now. Pain is universal, and everyone has been through pain, maybe in different degrees, right? But the migration, the transition from pain to purpose is a choice.
mm,
It's a
mm,
choice that is made by alignment. When you see yourself and say, okay, I've been through this thing, am I going to let it kill me? What has this pain come to do? What can I learn from all of this? And why did it even come? Because there is nothing that can come that cannot work for your good. So from going through pain, I remember one time I was in so much pain I couldn't articulate how I was feeling. I was in so much pain and I screamed. And I remember that day when I screamed, something inside of me released. It was like something just made the sound. Like I knew it wasn't a physical thing, but I knew that that pain touched a very deep part of me. And as I screamed, it was more like jubilee.
mm,
And then from then, I know that I became someone else. I was able to connect to the deepest part of me, and I was able to understand, that this is not just what it is; it's more than this. And I began to really move to purpose. So purpose, on the other hand, I would just say purpose is really about obedience.
mm,
Because in the moment when you're going through what you're going through, you're not really thinking about someone else. You're just thinking about yourself, right?
mm,
But moving from pain to purpose, a lot of people don't know that purpose is not one big, purpose. You have different definitions of purpose. Purpose comes as a result of alignment, and then you begin to get nudgings in your spirit. You begin to feel led to do certain things. For me, after I went through abuse, so back, I don't know whether it's time for the backstory, but
go ahead. Yeah.
I went through I went through domestic violence and emotional abuse that left me a shadow of myself, right? I became a walking dead. So I would
Mm,
go to the office. I was a very top, I was a C-suite executive. So I would go to the office and I had all these people that were answerable to me and answering me. And I would go to the office and I would lock my office and I would cry. And when I'm done crying, I'll clean my eyes. I'll come out like, oh, let's do this. Nothing they happen, as we say in Nigerian parlance. And I was
mm,
in that bubble for a long time and losing myself. And I really lost myself. I became a mute. I became a zombie. I became a person who did not even know who she was anymore, because when you go through abuse, it gets to a point where your mind is messed up. You try to put up an appearance on the front. That's what I try to do. I try to use makeup to cover my pain, right? But I was dying slowly until I just really just told myself that no, I can't continue like this. And I sought
mm,
the face of the Lord, and that's where the alignment happened. And so purpose for me started when I began to get nudgings in my spirit to begin to reach out to other women who were going through the same thing. In fact, I saw a vision of a lot of women wearing suits and looking really good, but they were walking like zombies. They're walking like vampires, and their hands and their legs were swaying left and right. And I'm like, what is this? And the Lord is telling me that these are my end time army. And a lot of them are wounded. A lot of them are going through pain. A lot of them have gone through trauma. And they keep moving, but they're not optimal. They're not living, they're existing. I need you to go
mm,
and rescue them. And I'm like, what? You know. And then several other things that happened, including having an encounter with God where I heard the words live again for the first time. And I'm wondering, what is live again? And he begins to say, you are living again. Life knocked you down and you got back up. Now I want you to go and help other women live again. So it just came from obedience. Okay, you know what? Start talking about what I'm teaching you, and I'm talking about it. And then the next thing, release your house to be a shelter for women that don't have a house. I'm like, release my house? I
mm,
cried because that's my house, you know. I decorated it, you know. It was my oh my God. I was like, this is my house. And he says, release it. So it's been several tests, but it's been really obedience that led to the Live Again Foundation. And that one seed, Live Again, has birthed so many things. Live Again Summit, Live Again Academy, Live Again Outreach, Live Again Shelter, Live Again Book. It's just on and on. Live Again Community. So purpose, I always like to say, is from obedience. And then the passion, I feel like passion comes from your why. It comes from a strong why. It comes from, you know, I told myself, I said, because of what I went through, I don't want any woman to go through what I went through.
mm,
I'm only lucky to have survived. I could have died. So the passion that drives me. In fact, we were in Port Harcourt last week, Nigeria, and the electricity. I know you were talking about electricity to Heather, where you were saying that she came to Ghana where, you know, sometimes the lights issues and all of that. For me, I was speaking in Port Harcourt and the lights went off and I continued speaking. And the
mm,
people there were looking at me. I could see the team members looking at me like, won't you stop? I couldn't stop because what is driving me is more than electricity. So that's passion right there. You see challenges along the way, but the passion keeps you going. You're like, no, if I had known what I know now, maybe I wouldn't have gone through what I went through, right? There's so many women going through the same thing, and I'm going to make sure that I do my best to help them come out of it and to help them live again. So I think that that's like really my summary of pain, purpose, and passion. And there are also some times when passion is not turned on and purpose has to be on. So purpose is the constant among all three. You have to know that purpose, challenges will come, but purpose keeps you grounded even when the passion is not there, so to speak. Yeah.
Purpose keeps you grounded even when the passion is not there. Annie gave up her house and she has an outfit called Live Again Shelter for women who are suffering abuse and they need to come out of the space where they're suffering and find a different space. So any you find, I know you've not gone too deep, but you find it a bit comfortable talking about your pain. Now, what would you say
Mm.
before I come back to Heather? What would you say to women who have a challenge speaking about their pain?
So we live in a world where, so we are brought up in different ways. I find that in Africa, somehow our parents and our parents' parents make us believe that you don't have to show your pain on you don't have to find a way to be strong, right?
Mm,
Don't tell the world about your pain because they can laugh at you, they can use it against you, and all of that. So there are those limiting beliefs and mindsets that keep people wallowing in their pain. There's also what will people say. There's also the stigma and the stigma that comes with sharing your pain. People are supposed to come and lend a shoulder to you, but they are
mm,
castigating you. They're telling you, they're condemning you, they're telling you you should have done it this way, and what was wrong with you. I mean, I've seen cases where women that went through abuse have died, and in their death, people are saying, insulting the person, saying, Shebi, you're the one that stayed there. Why did you stay there? And they're just being so harsh and mean. And then you see someone that was maybe sexually abused coming out boldly to speak, which has taken a lot. And then somebody will say, what were you doing there? Why did you wear what you wore? Why are you just talking now? And all sorts of things. So there are a number of reasons why people stay with their pain. And sometimes it's fear of the unknown, fear of how would I cope, fear of being bullied, fear, but a lot of things disguised, but all under fear. So there's a lot of things. And then sometimes it's also getting used to pain. You know, you can get used to pain and then you become numb. You become numb, you get used to it, and you tell yourself that there's nothing I can do. So hopelessness, which parades itself as there's nothing I can do, but that hopelessness is really is really an illusion, because there is no such thing as hopelessness. There are only hopeless people. People that feel like, oh, this is a hopeless situation, nobody's coming, you know, I don't have help, which is not true. So there's a number of things that makes people stay with their pain. But also another reason which I must highlight is that people want to hug their pain. And because, you know, there's one of my mentors, Bankole Williams, says people would choose familiar misery over foreign happiness.
People
Familiar
would choose
misery.
familiar misery
Familiar
over
misery over
misery,
foreign happiness.
over foreign happiness. That's an interesting one.
Because it will take you, you have to pay the price to move from pain to purpose. Most people are not ready to do that. So they would rather hug their pain, build monuments about their pain. E.g., Jabez in the Bible, his mother had gone through something, and instead of letting it go like that, she decided to create a monument as a human being and name him Jabez, to always remember what she went through. And that man's life was miserable until he said, I want more. This is not life. Right. So there are a number of reasons why people stay with their pain, but these are like top reasons I have come to see and come to find out. But the last reason I'm going to say is people have not healed. Anybody you see that does not talk about their pain, they've not healed. So the pain is still pain. Pain is a raw material. Like I said, if you know how to use pain, you'll become better. If pain uses you, you'll become bitter. So some people stay on the path of seeing this thing as what it is, pain. It's pain. It's a tool. It's a gift. So when you see it and your perspective changes, and then you remember those that can be dying because you're not talking about your pain. Oh no, you will talk about your pain. But then it's very important to heal so that you're not distributing pain. Instead, you're distributing healing. So healing is really the crux of what I'm trying to say. Healing is important.
Absolutely, absolutely. So those of us in the audience, I don't know whether you want to hear more from Enifome. You need to look at her website. You need to look at her YouTube channel. She speaks with so much passion, and the reason is she has a foundation that has created a purpose for her life.